Hello everybody. So today I'm going to be going over how to add a calendar to your NeoCity site. We are going to be using this JavaScript code, which is a calendar that looks like this, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to style it and turn it into something that looks more like this calendar over here. This is a site I'm currently working on. It's a work in progress, but I have seen calendars on other people's sites and I really wanted to figure out how to add my own. So I found this code through doing some research, and I was able to figure out how to mess around with the JavaScript and like the HTML, all of that to get it to look kind of more cuter, more stylized, whatever. So first things first, all of the resources, as usual, of course, will be linked in the description or in the Google Doc, which is also going to be linked in the description. And this Google Doc has some, I think, helpful instructions. If it's hard to follow along the video, you can also refer back to this. So first, I guess you're going to have your NeoCity site. As you can see, this site has a lot going on, and I was able to just add the calendar into a div I already had existing. No problem, still functions. It is the 29th of March currently when I'm recording this. And so for the sake of this video, I've just created a random NeoCity site where I'm going to be messing around with the calendar. But again, you can incorporate this calendar no matter how much you have going on your site. Like I said, this site will be in the description. You're just going to copy the entire, so you're just going to copy that and then paste it in between your body divs, and it's gonna, or body tags, I always call them divs, they're tags. It's gonna give you some errors, but that's okay, I think. I mean, it still works, so I think it's just about how, you know, you have heads with inside heads, head tags, that type of thing, but it still shows up. As you can see, this is what the default calendar looks like. And just jumping right in to how you're going to style it. The basic stuff, you are going to want to find this line here, document.write, table border 2, background color white. And in that, at the end, you're going to add style equals, and then you usually do 2 quotation marks, but since it's already inside 2 quotation marks, you're just going to use 1 quotation mark. And for example, you can really do anything here. So for example, we can change the width and the height if we want the calendar to be bigger. So I'm just setting random values here. And then make sure to end the quotation. In the Google Doc, I've provided example code with like random colors and sizes, but please adjust those to your liking. They're kind of just there as a template for you, like a starting point. So as you can see, our calendar is now a lot bigger. Similarly, you can adjust the positioning of the calendar. I would suggest using relative positioning, especially if you're incorporating this in a site that already has a lot of elements in it. So we can add some positioning to make the calendar go into the center of our site. So we have just done that. And then you can also change the font. I think this is the big thing. This is just like the default. I don't know what font this is, Times New Roman maybe. So you are welcome to change the font. You do just have to make sure to include that font in your NeoCities. So if you're not familiar with that, this is my resource card. It's linked in the Google Doc with some of my favorite fonts. So you can go through those, and if you don't like any of them, you can also head to my resources section, and under the card sections, there's a bunch of other sites with fonts if you don't like, again, if you don't like any of the ones I have. So we're just going to choose this one. This is the one that is in the website I was just showing you guys. So once you find a font, it'll usually link to a pasty bin or a similar site. You're going to want to copy it's usually 3 or 4 lines, just the font base. Copy that, and then you are going to want to, you make sure, this is really important, go out completely outside of the calendar code and paste that in between 2 style tags like this. And then I'm just going to format it. It doesn't matter though. And then once you have that, you can copy just the line that says font family and paste it here in the line we were just messing around with, and you can see that the font is now changed. You can also, of course, adjust the font size. So if we want the font to be a little bit bigger, since our calendar is a little bit bigger, we can do that. We can see the font's now bigger. However, that did make the calendar bigger. So as you can see, the positioning has moved it down a little bit. So it's really just playing around with the numbers as you go to get it looking like how you want it to look and positioned how you want it to be positioned. Next up, the background. You can make the background a color. So we're just going to make the background pink, for example, just to show you what that does. Boom, pink background. You can also make the background an image, which is what I did. It's a little, I don't want to say it's complicated, but there's a few more extra steps you have to take. You're going to copy and paste these 3 lines of code, and then you're of course going to want to add your image link where it says image link here. Okay. So you are going to copy and paste that, and then make sure it's all on one line so that it doesn't get mad at you. And then obviously you're going to change image link here to your actual image. And so what I do is I find images, you know, wherever, Pinterest, literally wherever. I download them to my device and then I upload them to an image hosting site. So this could be Dropbox, Google Drive. I use Card. And you can also upload them to your NeoCities site themselves, like within a folder on your dashboard, and then just link that folder. But I am just used to doing it this way, but either way works. And so once you have your image downloaded, uploaded somewhere where you can access the link, you're just going to copy that image address. I'm literally just using this random image. It's probably going to look pretty ugly, but you paste it there, you save it, and then refresh the site. And we now see we have this image as the background. I didn't choose a great image, so it looks kind of wonky, but if you choose a good image like the one I have on this site, it will look decent. I'm actually going to recommend this site. This is where I find a lot of my backgrounds, and they're like square images, but they're really good when we're stretched across an entire screen, which is why we have the lines of code background attachment fixed and background repeat. So I'm just going to quickly put this in the Google Doc. And continuing on, now that we have that, I'm actually quickly just going to delete the image because we won't be able to see some of our code that we do if the image stays like that. So now we're back to the regular calendar, just with our font and our sizing adjusted, positioning, all that. So the next thing we're going to edit is this top header part here, March 2026. So changing that specific text if you want a specific style applied to this text, but the rest of the numbers and the days of the week, all that, if you want that left alone. You're going to go and find, I'm already forgetting, this line here, and you're going to add style to it. So it's literally like 2 lines down. It's this line here. And so where you see strong, you're going to add style equals, and then again with the 1 quotation that we did previously. So you can change the font. So we are just going to quickly find another font to use. This is the font I used in my calendar, so we're just going to choose this one. So same method that we did before, copying and pasting it within the style divs like this. And we can see the font will now be changed, and you can again adjust the font size if you want it to be a little bit bigger, stand out a little bit more, similar to what we had just done previously. Of course, the color, you would simply just say color pink. And now it's pink. You can also, I believe I put in some extra code. If you want an outline, you can do that. Just showing you guys some examples of what you can do. And then also, the bigger you make the text, the more kind of stretched out the box is going to be. And so if you want it kind of more smushed, like closer to the borders, that's something you can do with line height. So you can play around with the line height. Pretty straightforward. The smaller the number, like the thinner it will be. Oh, why did it disappear? Because it was not it needs to all be touching. Okay, so you can see, I don't know if you could tell the difference, but it's a bit closer to the border than it was previously, kind of making the calendar smaller, but it still looks big, if that makes sense. And then I also linked a resource where you can find lots of text styles. You can see in my card, I kind of have this underline looking thing, which I found on this amazing resource. It's literally this one here. So I literally just copied the code and then I changed the color, but I'll show you guys how that would look. If you were to just copy the code, you would just, so we need to delete these lines because that's what is being changed. So just copy the code, make sure it's all green and that the quotations are touching the last line. And you can see it has this purple color, and then you can just change that to whatever you want. And you can also make like color like blue or something. So you can take like the base code from that site and kind of just play around with it, make it look how you want it to look, that type of stuff. I guess I didn't need to delete the border, but if you want the border, like if you want a lot going on, again, all the text should be green. Make sure it's not white. That means you need to delete the white spaces. So you can't really tell because the text is blue, but the outline is black. So that type of thing. And then next, the actual date is of course red, but you can change that. If you simply want to change the color, you're going to go down to this line here and then change the color code. And in the Google Doc, I have linked some resources for finding good color palettes and explaining hex codes if you're not super familiar with it. So for example, if we wanted to make it, I guess continuing with our purple theme here, if we wanted to make it this color, we would copy and paste it, and then into here you just want to make sure you keep the quotation marks and you actually do not want the hashtag. In this case, you usually use the hashtag, but in this case we will not. So you can see that the date is now purple. That was probably a bad color to use because it looks similar to black, but it is dark purple there. So you can change that to whatever you want. I'll make it pink. Actually, I have this random pink color code memorized because I use it so much. So now you can see that actually shows a little bit more of a drastic change there. And then if you want to do like what I did and add kind of more styling to it, you're simply gonna literally the same thing we just did, strong style equals, and then copy and paste whatever. So like, for example, you can change the font, literally just the same things we previously did, like the outline, the font size, the color, that type of thing, any of the cool text styles you see in this resource, or any, coding resource you find online. So you would just put it strong style here. So like, what could I do? I could add, should I make it big? We'll just make it really big. So font size, 30 px. And you can see it now looks a little weird because it's bigger than all of the other numbers, but I've made the text bigger. So really it's up to you, your discretion, what you want to do with it. Okay, I'm editing the video now, and this is something I completely forgot to mention, but there's a lot of borders going on. As you can see, like it's a very grid looking layout. So if you do not want this outer border here, which for my calendar, I got rid of the outer border. As you can see, it's just the background image kind of bleeding out. You're going to go back to that very first line that we edited, the top one here, starting with table border equals 2. And in the style, you're just simply going to add border none. This is in the Google Doc. I just forgot to go over it in the video, and it's a fairly simple thing. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned it. So as you can see, it's now kind of less jumbled looking, I think, but you are welcome to keep the border. And then finally, the last thing, this is really simple and optional, but I don't like how the numbers are aligned to the left and everything else is in the middle. So I wanted to make the numbers in the middle. And to do that, you're going to find this line in the code and literally just copy and paste this line and change it to that. So if we can find that line, right here. So copy and paste, boom, and we can see it is now, all the numbers are now in the center. Just making sure I went over everything. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak. I think that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that this was helpful. It's looks a bit daunting. I think everything relating to coding and HTML, CSS, it all looks so daunting at first, but then once you like sit down and do it, it's really not as complicated as you think. And I think a lot more people are capable of like doing amazing things with their website than they like think. So for so long I wanted to make a calendar, and I was like, this looks so complicated, I'm never going to figure out how to do this. And then I sat down one day and I was like, okay, like time to get to work. And I was like, wait, this is so simple. So yeah, with that said though, if there are no stupid questions, if you run into any problems, need any help, things aren't working, yada yada yada, all my socials are linked in the description, as well as you can leave a comment down below. Yeah, I appreciate the support. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give the video a like, subscribe, all the stuff the YouTubers say. That's pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next video.